So what's the purpose of listening to the Dharma? So the purpose of listening to the Dharma is to be able to apply it to our own mind, to figure out what's going on with our thoughts, our attitudes, our behavior, and then use the Dharma as a way to transform the mind. So it is to figure out what's right and what is wrong within our own mental continuum. So, do we use the Dharma instead to try and figure out what's wrong with other people? Do we focus on what others are doing and label them as, oh, that person is too angry, that person is too attached, that person is too arrogant, and then spend more time analyzing others instead of focusing on our own mind? I know I have a tendency to do that, to try and diagnose people and see what's wrong with them, as a way to really distract from my own mind and what is happening there. But there is I found a good way to kind of divert myself from that, and instead really trying to focus on my mind and what's happening there. And so these are 6 beneficial attitudes, and they are covered in the Lamrim, and I really enjoyed reading about them, listening Venerable Children talk about these, and also try to cultivate those in my mind. So the first one is to really see ourselves as a patient, someone who has a serious disease. And so we start by recognizing that we have a sickness called anger, attachment, and ignorance. And this sickness keeps us circling in cyclic existence, causing us a lot of suffering. So if we feel that we indeed have this condition, it really spurs our intention to get rid of it, get rid of this disease. But let's think a little bit about how do we manage our physical illness? What do we do when we have let's say the flu, we have, or some other physical condition that is ailing? Do you recognize that you're ill? Do you seek medical attention right away? Or do you sit in denial, playing the stoic and trying to deal with it on your own? Instead of going to the doctor, do you try to diagnose yourself? Oh, maybe this is what I have. Let me look at the symptoms on the internet, because that's very popular now. Or let me call my friend and see what they think. Or let's see what kind of remedy worked for them, and then I'm going to try and concoct something that was going to work for me. So sometimes if that's how we deal with our physical affliction, sometimes we have a tendency to use that same recipe to deal with our spiritual affliction. And that really does not work very well. It doesn't work very well for our physical afflictions either. We really need to look for an expert, someone who really knows what they're talking about. I used to be that kind of person, refusing to go to the doctor. Just, I'm going to stick it out and be brave and not go to the doctor. And there are many, many, many who are like that as well. But when we recognize that we do have an illness that is serious and that we are not able to cure ourselves, then that gives us an incentive and motivation to try and figure out, okay, who can help us? And of course, for physical ailments, we have medical trained personnel, doctors, nurses, PAs, physician assistants, nurse practitioners, and we can go to them for advice and diagnosis of our disease, and we know that we're going to be going to an expert. So likewise, we need to go and search for a doctor who has the abilities, the skills, and the knowledge to help us deal with our disease of ignorance, attachment, and anger. And so we turn to the Buddha. Why do we turn to the Buddha? We turn to the Buddha because he was once just like us. And he developed the skills, he developed the knowledge, he developed the method to cure himself from the illness. Therefore, having cured himself from the same illness that we have, who else can help us and guide us along the way to cure ourselves? So his expertise is based on the fact that he developed great compassion, and based on that great compassion, he was able to generate all of the other stages of the path to the point where he abandoned the afflictions and the ignorance, the self-grasping ignorance, and attained his own aims. And then his intent on helping others do the same. So these qualities make him a reliable doctor. And what's the medicine that he gives? He gives the medicine of the Dharma. Everything the Buddha teaches is aimed at freeing us from anger, attachment, and ignorance. Now, the medicine may be bitter. Sometimes it's hard to take. Sometimes we don't want to do what he recommends because it really is quite a sharp turn from the things that we're used to. And so there is resistance to that. This is not unlike what we do when we go to the doctor. I don't know about you, but there's been many times when I go to the doctor and to find out what I have, and then the doctor prescribes the medicine and then I don't take it. Sometimes I don't even go to get it filled. So do we do that in this case too? It's like, why did I bother going to the doctor to tell me what I have if I'm not going to take the medicine? Oh, because I look at the medicine and it has all these kinds of side effects, and then it tastes bad, and then I have to take it at certain times, and it's just not convenient. So if that's the attitude that we bring to a spiritual practice, we're not going to get too far, right? Once we take the time to identify the doctor, to go for advice, then it's probably in our best interest to try and take the medicine. Even if it's not very convenient or it doesn't feel good or it tastes horrible, still it's in our best interest to do that. So while the Buddha is not alive right now, we cannot see him in person, we do have proxies, thank goodness. We have spiritual mentors who are practicing the path themselves, who are more advanced than we are, who know more than we do, and who really faithfully follow the teachings of the Buddha. So then those are reliable proxies to go to because they teach exactly what the Buddha would teach. So our spiritual mentors then give us the medicine, and then we follow their advice by taking the medicine. And one of the things that's very, very important about taking the medicine is consistency and intensity. So we have to practice continuously. Same thing with the medicine. I know there's a lot of problems right now because of antibiotics. People take half of the regimen of antibiotics and they start feeling good, and they toss the rest of the medicine away because now they're feeling good and they think they've solved the problem. But what happens when they don't take the entire dosage? Oh, they go back to feeling ill again because they haven't finished the regimen. So likewise for spiritual practice, we start practicing a little bit of the advice of our teachers, the Buddha, and then we start feeling a little bit fine, and then we forget about following through because now we're okay. And we forget that our disease is so deeply rooted that just a tiny little bit of medicine here and there is not enough to sort of help us clear or be cured. So we have to bring these two values of consistency and intensity. And then having investigated the value of the reliability of the teacher, having seen the value of the Dharma, having generated then trust in the teacher, then we generate this trust in the Dharma as well, because we can see as we progress that it's really having the effect of helping us transform our mind. And then the last beneficial attitude is to really generate the wish for the Dharma to endure, so that we can continue to benefit from it and others can continue to benefit from it, and it can last and endure long. So if we do these things, cultivate these 6 beneficial attitudes in our mind, we will be a great patient, we will take the medicine, and then we will be able to transform our mind.